What's going on, guys? Back today, playing the NHL 19 beta. Still enjoying ourselves over here. Got about 15-20 games played in so far, and by far the biggest topic has been the poke checking issues everybody's having with this game. I'm gonna be honest, I started this video and I was just gonna, discuss it in general, the poke checking, what everybody's thinking about it, how they feel about it. And then I got the, breaking it down. I've been breaking down some penalties, a lot taken. I'm going to break them down in these videos, and hopefully this can help you guys learn how to take less penalties. Like, I'm going to try to break them down, explain why you're taking the penalties. Hopefully it makes sense to you guys. But the open debate, I'm going to let it be out there for you guys still. Let everybody, voice their opinions. And that is the penalty still overpowered? Is there too many penalties? Should they nerf it? Or is it just the users having to adjust? Because honestly, that's my opinion on it, is I think the users just got to adjust. We've gotten into a world of NHL playing where you just spam the poke check any and everywhere carelessly, and you don't have to take penalties. And I just want to give a little example, and not to toot my own horn or anything, because I'll be the first one to tell you if I'm not good at a video game if you've seen any of my Fortnite videos or MLB or NHL for that matter as well, I guess. And that's, I'm gonna be just say I feel like I'm above average defenseman in NHL, and being straight up, I probably played under 100 NHL games this year at defense. Being quite honest, like, I don't like playing defense. I played it competitively because I could play it good, and I was better at it than forward, so I was like, you know what, why hold the team back? I'll play defense instead because I'm better at it, right? But I don't enjoy playing it. I'd rather play forward. Sometimes I enjoy playing it. It's fun to shut people down at the same time. But my point is, 100 games, and this is the first year I played defense competitively. Before that, I was always playing forward. I played defense, literally the only time I played defense is when we needed a fill in. I'll just do what I can, right? And the reason I bring it up is because I found 100 games. Do you think that's all it should take to be really good at defense? I mean, I guess some people learn different, quicker, and everything else than others, whatever. You can always bring that up, but I think the reason why it was so easy for me, and for a lot of people, to adjust to playing defense. And I should bring it up. I don't play versus. I don't enjoy it. Why? Because the poke check spam was ridiculous the last few years. So I'm pretty excited that they're taking all these penalties, honestly. I'm pumped. I love seeing all the penalties. I hope they do nothing to it. I really do. Because that was the problem, was the poke check spamming. Just, I could not play versus because it wasn't fun. Compies and poke checks, it just wasn't my cup of tea. I was never a fan of it. I was going to play games that I like playing, and that wasn't fun hockey to me. But staying on track here, though. When you play defense, especially when I even played defense, like, I felt like the only thing you really had to do was position yourself. Stay in a position when the guy was in your vicinity, poke check it. The rule of thumb is always poke check it once and you're good to go. You poke check it a couple times, you might spam and trip, but you could poke check from pretty much any angle, and you catch yourself getting a poke check, right? Even if you wasn't in the greatest of angles. And the thing that always frustrated me the most about poke checks is you get poke check from behind, or the guy's pulling his stick back, and you're on the right. He's clear pulling a stick back to the left. You're coming in from the defensive zone. He's coming in from the offensive zone. He's protecting that puck really well. And the chances of anybody ever poking that puck happening, never. But it happens in the game. Same with poke checks from behind. Like, the guy's poking through your skates, poking through your legs from behind. In what war do you see that in hockey ever? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there was so many things, and we got this new engine now that's going to allow us to change it a little bit. Where there's so many things you could just poke that we took for granted. And I don't think people stop and actually think, like, man, should have really been able to poke that puck right there. I mean, was I really supposed to be able to poke that when I stop and think about, like, where I was at, the angle I was taking? Probably not. But this game's been made to be poke checky. And poke checky only. Like, that's been the way people play defense. They spam the poke check. You're new to the game, you spam the poke check, and you short side cheese the goalie. I mean, that's how everybody plays. There should be more of a skills gap, and I think that's what you're going to see with this. You see more of the skill gap because you can't just poke check spam to play defense. You actually have to get in position. I think it's great. Like, people have been wanting a skill gap in the game, and there really hasn't been one. I feel like defense was really easy last year, and I think they're making it more difficult now. You can't just poke check any and everything without taking a tripping penalty. You have to be positioned. And it's not like there's not other options. They've made hitting better. The stick lefting, I'm not completely sold on being better, but I feel like it's gotten better. I still don't use it, so I'm going to hold my tongue on that one. But I know the hitting's better. The animations and hitting's not near as terrible as it was last year. Last year's was, every year you'd always animate improperly. Now if you aim your hits and you follow the right direction, you're going to hit him and knock him off the puck. So instead of it just being a stick lifting fest, if you're in position to hit the guy, you knock him off the puck that way instead of stick checking him. There's multiple ways to play defense and get around now on offense, defense, whatever, all that hoopla. And I think it makes the game better. I really do think that's going to make the game better. I know a lot of people are going to be upset, but if you didn't want change, then would you want the same game? Because I believe people complain about wanting the same game quite often. Get the same NHL for the 5th straight year. I'm not buying this. Oh, they changed something in NHL. I have to adjust. I don't want to play this. People complain when it changes. People complain when it doesn't change. This is a great change for NHL. The RPM tech seems to be coming in hot. The skating seems to be coming in hot. And I like what they're doing. I really do. I appreciate it. But I want to go out here now and I want to show you some examples. I want to show you some examples of some penalties. Because there's so many of them in these games these days. And it's pretty easy to go out there and find a few. And we're going to break them down. Should they have been penalties? Or should they be nerfed, you know? Like, let's go ahead and break them down. In no order. I just, got so far in the video, I was like, you know what? Easy to find penalties. I just grabbed the first penalties I found. And that's what we got here. So let's go draw up a penalty. So now I bring the question up. Why shouldn't that have been a penalty? This guy is on the inside to the left. Our player is protecting the puck to the right, completely away from him. He pokes it. I mean, literally, and probably in the old game, he probably gets that poke check off because it sticks long enough, it sticks there. But you can't poke through a player's legs or through his skates and expect that not to be a trip. And that's what happened in old games. It didn't happen there. It's a penalty. You can't be like, oh, that's a problem. Like, no, you should have never been able to do that in the first place. I think the biggest problem with a lot of this stuff is, like I said, it's an adjustment thing. Everybody's been so used to spamming the poke check every year to play defense. It's not realistic. But people are so used to doing it. Like, people get mad and upset about having to change and adjust. And at the end of the day, if you want, you want a different game, you're going to have to change and adjust the things. Either you can have the same game and complain about the game being the same every year, or they can change the game and you can adjust, or you can complain about how something's changed. Let me see if I can't line up another penalty here somewhere in this game. We can see get a decent example here. Oh man, the sauce. I had to make sure we stalled long enough to get that one in there. Alright, I watched this one. I'm going to be honest. I watched it about 4 times before I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong. I did not do anything wrong. Then I realized it was green. Stop it there. Look what green's at. Look how far green is away from this guy. He's clearly reaching from a mile away. It's clearly just a desperation poke. And he clips the guy's skate and trips him. How often do you see a guy from that distance make that far of a stretch trying to get that poke check in a real life hockey game? You gotta expect a trip, right? They're trying to prevent the poke check spam. I mean, if you look where I was at, honestly, you look where I was at on the left side, right side, I had him perfectly positioned. First, that's what I said. I thought it was me. I was like, how in the heck did I trip this guy? But I had him in the right position. I was in position. I got the poke off, but it wasn't before the other guy, green, tripped him. And it was a penalty for, honestly, just carelessly poke checking. That's what a lot of people do in the game. I think that's been a very, very common thing. I mean, that was just 2 straight penalties. I didn't pick any certain penalty out. I just picked 2 penalties, and that was a start. Let's see if we can find one more, just for a good time. It's not that hard. There's like 20 in the game anyway. Find one more penalty. All right, here's another great penalty. I'm glad Green was here. Green took a lot of penalties. He contributed to this video very well. I appreciate it, Green. But if you go ahead and look at this penalty, I'm going to assume there's a lot of people that takes this penalty right here, and they're very upset. They are probably furious. Why did I take that penalty? I'm right there. Why did I make that poke? Well, let's break it down real quick. Why did you take that penalty? Let's take a look. It's an open ice puck in the first place. It's a loose puck. And it looks like, the other team grabs it first. The other guy's, best way I can say, he's completely horizontal, right? He's facing left to right directly. And you take a look at where Green's facing. Green's facing at an angle to the back of the other player. He's not facing the same direction to where if you poke check, you poke for the puck. No, he's at an angle facing the wrong direction. Not squared up with the puck is the best way I can explain it. He's squared up with the back of this guy's rear end, to be quite frank. So when he poke checks, look where his stick's at. His stick's already in the guy's skates because that's the way he's facing. So the second he poke checks, he pokes through his skates. If you turn the direction to the left just a smidge, angle yourself better to the puck, you probably get that poke check off. But because you're not facing the right direction, you poke check, you trip him. And that's a big change in this year's game, I think. The big change is the positioning matters. You didn't have to be positioned. Last year, you probably make that poke 10 out of 10 times. The game just kind of animates your stick properly for you. You don't trip. You don't poke through it. You don't go through his skates. You just, the new engine changes that, though, I'm assuming. You didn't do it before. Now you go ahead. You actually put your stick through the guy's skates. You're going to trip him. face the right direction here, and the trip doesn't happen. I think that's the best way I can explain this to you guys, is I know people are frustrated with the poke check. I was frustrated with it. Like, the first thing somebody told me when I got on the beta was, don't hit RB. Don't you dare hit that RB stick checking button. And, you know, I ended up doing it anyway, because YOLO. But I learned, you be cautious. You should go into a game with that mindset. Don't press the RB button. Don't press the RB button unless you're guaranteed to get that poke check off. You think there's no chance you don't poke it. Like I've said it, I think I said it on Twitter, I probably average a penalty a game at most these days. And that's playing threes where you're more aggressive with the stick. Don't poke unless you're guaranteeing yourself the poke check. Like, why should you? Like, back in the day in NHL games, you could make these pokes. I showed you 3 of them. Probably a good chance you reach and make some ridiculous poke, or you just don't trip them. There's cases where you'd be like, oh, you just wouldn't trip because you're that far away. But if you're making the effort to poke that puck, and you can't reach a puck, but you can reach the stick, or reach the skates, you should trip him. I love it. I love EA for oh my goodness, those same words in the same sentence. Holy cow, somebody don't clip that one. I do, though. There's nothing that drove me more up the wall for the past how many years other than the overpowered stick checking. Think about it. Nowadays, is that the only thing you do in hockey is stick check? Is that, if you watch an NHL game, is all they do is stick check? I mean, you also look at some of these plays, you can say, well, you could have stick lifted too. He was in position to get the stick lift off, right? The stick lift's been a penalty button for every year now. Hitting's been irrelevant because it animates him properly. These days, hitting animates properly. Like, if you skate toward the guy and make the hit, you make the hit. Do I think there should be a little bit of tuning on the hitting, maybe down a smidge or two? Possibly. But at the end of the day, they've made it where it's not just about stick checking. You can now hit the guy. I'm going to hold my tongue on stick lifting because I don't do it a lot, and I know it was quite the problem for, you know, many seasons as being a penalty button. But it's not just about stick checking. It's not who can spam poke the most. It's become more of a skill game. You have to properly position yourself, make the hit, or make the stick check, positioning yourself properly. If you're going to spam, you're going to be penalized for it. People have been saying there ain't skill gap in this game. You want skill. Well, this is your skill gap. Learn how to properly position your body on the ice to make the poke check before you can be lazy with it. Like I said, I played defense, and I found it very easy to be very lazy and get the stick checks off and have no problem. I mean, the golden rule at NHL, I would tell, you know, people in general back in older games, is just stick check once. Poke once, you don't take the penalty. It almost never mattered where you was on the ice. If you only poked once, you normally didn't take the penalty. If you poked a couple times and spammed it, then they trip. Poke once, you didn't take the penalty. Now you poke once, and you're not in position to poke it, you take the penalty. I think it's great. I love it. I'm sold, especially after watching these replays on the penalties. Like, I've completely sold myself into saying I love it. There might be some cases people can show me some examples that are ridiculous, but like right there, I think that last penalty summed it up the best. People would be furious taking that penalty. I guarantee everybody's mad taking that penalty, but why shouldn't you taking that penalty? Explain to me how your stick should have been in a different position and not taking that penalty. You know what I'm saying? Like, the stick was there. Where it was facing, he was meant to take a penalty. That's my opinion on it. Hopefully you guys found that helpful as well. Hopefully you guys can take less penalties. Maybe getting an understanding of what you might be doing wrong. Otherwise, though, guys, as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you're thinking on the penalties. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.